an airline not to be named kind of hosed him, and he's unable to make it, unfortunately. But I know Matt's you're going to be able to talk with you both, you and Mike. You're going to be great. This is good. So, what do we have going on here? As you know, this year's theme, the theme for the year and for the annual meeting was Pay It Forward. And before I get into the session here, I want to let you all know that with the theme, the Professional Development Committee wants you to know they're working on a reboot of the NWA's mentoring program, and they actually need your help in that effort. You can share your membership stories via the link. There's to a Google form that's on NWA social media accounts and also on the app. And so please help them out as they look at good ways to reboot the mentoring program. So in my January newsletter, I lay out how I became a member of the NWA, and it was through former NWA president, the late Liz Guitone. Over the years, I've had loads of critical mentors in my life. Louis was one of them. But I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those mentors, if it wasn't for the National Weather Association. Because of the connections I made and the mentors I had, I'm working my dream job in my hometown as the Sioux at Boulder. Can't ask for anything better. It's all because of mentoring and the National Weather Association. So I wanted to have a special session, that's why we're all here now, at the annual meeting that showcases mentoring. These are all pairs, and we know there's a pair there in spirit. They're going to share their experiences. They're going to provide some practical tips on how to find a mentor and how to develop a great symbiotic relationship. We're also going to have a lot of fun because look at who we have. This is going to be awesome. So let's introduce them. We've got a fantastic panel. We have Matthew Bolton. He's on the NWA Committee for Diversity and Professional Development. He's with How the Weather Works and St. Leo University. And his partner, his mentor was is Mike Longo. He's on the NWS Broadcast Committee as a digital seal. He's a CCM, also with How the Weather Works. The pair number 2, James Spahn, WBMA, Birmingham, Alabama. And his mentee, Elise Smith, who's on the NWA Committee Membership Marketing, and she's with KRCG, Jefferson City, Missouri. Pair number 3, Alan Seals, former president, Mr. President. And formerly with WKRG Mobile, can we say that?
Soon to be somewhere else.
Yes, which is awesome. Great to have you back in the business after a little bit of a break. And his mentee, Kate McKenna from WAAY, right here in Huntsville. Pair number 4, on the Weather Service side, we have Stephen Cooper, National Weather Service Southern Region Director. And Elise Hagner, who's on the NWA Social Media Committee and with the National Weather Service Office of Organizational Excellence. So let's get right into this. We'll just go right on down the line. And this first question is for the pair. How and when did you meet?
So, Mike and I met when I was in high school. He was director of an overall NOAA-funded weather camp program. And I was at Jackson State Camp in Mississippi. This was 2010. It was actually my second camp. I was back assisting the faculty after attending as a student in 2009. But Mike was there on an inspection trip, and after 2 days of seeing me work with faculty, interacting with me, we toured the Yazoo City tornado damage. That was only about 2 months after that tornado had passed through. He offered me an internship through his company, How the Weather Works, and it's education-based in Naples, Florida, and he gives talks to schools, different groups. He's active at WeatherFest and different events, and so I was a research intern for him for 7 years. It was supposed to be a 1-year gig. We quickly found that we worked well together, and I joined the faculty at his Southwest Florida Weather Camp in 2013, and so I partnered with him in that. I've done social media management for him, web design. We've worked well and across many different areas for the last 8 years.
Great. James and Elise, how and when did you meet?
You ready for a
Oh,
story?
this is a good story.
So I didn't have my first conversation with him until 9 months after I first made contact, I guess, and showed up at his office as his intern. And what's really special but not unique is that the National Weather Association is at the center of our mentor kind of relationship. So my junior year of college, I attended the National Weather Association annual meeting in Oklahoma City after being rejected to about 5 internships the previous summer. So I knew that if I wanted to go into broadcasting, I would need a really good internship and mentor under my belt. So I went to that meeting looking to hopefully make some type of connection to get an internship the following summer. So the Monday night, they were doing weather brains live at the National Weather Center, and I was there with my friend Lynette, and they were looking for students to go on his talk show. And for some reason, we were not intimidated whatsoever, which was good because at the time, there was a big rant about how students these days don't work hard, and they're expected that everything is going to be handed to them.
Wait.
Wait a minute. So we do this live every year at this event. We'll be live tonight. And does anybody know Dr. Chuck Goswell in the room? So this story involves Chuck, okay?
Oh boy.
We invited Chuck to be on the show with us, which we often do, and they put Chuck and I together knowing we're the two troublemakers. And so I'm saying whatever she's about to say, it's all Chuck's fault.
So he was the one saying that students don't work hard, expected to be handed
Chuck,
to them,
not me.
etc. Yeah, you stayed quiet the entire time. I didn't even hear from you. But all of a sudden the microphone is handed to me and they're like, what do you think about that? And I know that's Chuck Goswell, and I don't want to say anything because my career hasn't even begun yet. But it basically said something, I take everything with a grain of salt, but I already know it's going to be hard. I faced rejection and I haven't even graduated from school yet. But I said that I was here to get the best internship I could, and it wasn't until I watched the feedback that you looked over at me on the panel and just kind of leaned over. I was still talking because I was a little overwhelmed at the situation. Yep. So that was day 1. Day 2, the next day at the annual meeting, you gave the keynote, and it was about maybe one of the first times you had spoke about the Tuscaloosa event publicly. And I just remember seeing a whole new light of what our job is as broadcasters. And I made a mental note. I was like, I have to intern and learn from you if I can. January of the next year, I reached out to you. You said there's an internship here, applying in March.
Not knowing she was the one we were mocking.
Yes. Yes. That too. So a few months later, at the beginning of June, I show up as his intern. He walks by the weather office. I'm sitting with Megan Thomas, who's the morning meteorologist there, going over my schedule. He walks by, then walks back. Looks in, says, are you the intern? I said, yes. You're from Valparaiso University? Yes, go Valpo. Hey, okay. How do you spell your name? Elise, E-L-Y-S-E. What's your last name? Smith. We don't have to change your name. And walked away. And that was my first day as an intern with Dixon.
Love it. Okay, Alan and Kate, how and when did you meet?
So, I was a student at the University of South Alabama in Mobile, and I didn't grow up in Mobile. I didn't grow up with the legend of Alan Seals, but my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, found out that I was taking a class with Alan Seals, and the whole family just, fell all to pieces, and we were so excited, but I had no idea what I was going to learn from Alan at the time. It all became this kind of serendipitous journey as far as getting into the business, but ending up at a school and being paired with Alan for the intro to broadcasting class. So we got to go to the station. I mean, it's the same kind of internship that many stations have, But the difference with Alan and Alan became somebody that I could lean on even after school was over. I mean, Alan does this with dozens of students. Would you say dozens? Hundreds. Well, I was going to say. Well, you are now Reddit famous. He's like gone viral now. It's the best way. Well, we all knew already, right? But somebody that I could lean on even after school was over. Each career transition, each time I was questioning where I was going to go next, what I was going to do next, Alan was always there for that kind of, that guidance and that shoulder.
And I'll add, of all the interns and students I've had, Kate is one of them.
Which he shows each and every semester. He'll show a video of the kids practicing at the wall and everything, doing their thing. And then he says, "This is the best class I've had this semester." It's the only class that semester, but
Stephen and Elise, how and when did you meet?
Well, I don't know if Stephen actually remembers the first time we met. I was a forecaster at the Morristown forecast office in, I think, 2016. Stephen came down as director of Southern Region to visit the office, met with any of the forecasters that wanted to meet with him one-on-one for a couple minutes, just to kind of talk about your career, some of your goals, any questions or concerns you had for him, just really open conversation. And that really left an impression. To me, that was someone that was a good leader. They were there to listen. They, took the time out of their busy schedule to really just sit down one-on-one and talk. And they made a big impression. I then went up to Weather Service headquarters about a year later and had the opportunity with a couple of my coworkers to go down and visit Southern Region to meet with Stephen. Got to know him a little bit better there. And then as part of the Weather Service mentoring program, which Christina Crow talked about yesterday afternoon, I signed up as an early to mid-career employee that was trying to figure out my path, what I want to do with the rest of my career in the Weather Service. Stephen signed up as a mentor, and I was able to select him to be peered, and we've been working together for, probably
years.
Yeah. And what's interesting with us, we're remote parenting, so most of our communication has been over video chat. I think this is the first time we've actually seen each other in person since we started in January or February, post shutdown. Yeah.
I think you pretty much covered it. Yeah, I remember you, one of the 900 and something employees. It's always enjoyable to go out and talk with someone. And if you don't know Elise, she's always like this. She's always cheery, and when the two of us get together, we try to get to some really meaningful things, but generally it's chatting back and forth a lot, which I think is terribly important. But that, I think she pretty much summed up about our history. She had worked in some other offices before that, and then Morristown, and then worked with her much more now with the Office of Organizational Excellence.
Yeah, thanks. So all of you can see there are varying ways to meet a mentor, even long distance ones working out just fine. So again, you have the huge opportunity here with 600 plus operational meteorologists and other disciplines all together. We're all paying it forward. Look for opportunities to mentor or find a mentor. So going on to the next question, I've got one for the mentees and one for the mentors. We'll start with Matt for the mentee. What has this mentoring relationship done for your career and your life?
Oh, wow. Big question. I'd say it's done everything up to this point, professional, and I would not have had the opportunities that I've experienced had I not met Mike. He got me onto the professional development committee as a student, and incremental success. One thing led to another. Next thing I knew, I was on the diversity committee. One research project led to another. One opportunity led to another. Doors kept opening. They keep opening. Just building on those early successes. But it's transcended just professional relations and opportunities. it's personal as well. He's shaped who I become as a person, instilled strong character values, and those are things that I try to model to my mentees and others in my interactions with them. But yeah, I just really wouldn't be. I wouldn't be here on this stage with you all today were it not for Mike, and were it not for folks that came before him who led me to him essentially, got me to that initial weather camp experience. Folks like Brian Lamar and Dan Noah, many of you in the weather service may know them. They were also instrumental in my formative years. And were it not for them, I wouldn't have met Mike. So it's incremental successes, incremental connections. You never know where someone can lead you. So you always want to put your best foot forward. That's what I try to model to my mentees.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to get to James' similar question, but before we get to that, I mentor several weather service employees, and I get probably as much out of it, if not more, than they do. Just it's such a, they keep me fresh, they have me think of new ideas, and so I'm curious, James, for you, what's mentoring been made for your life and your career?
To say this, when I was a young adult, I was a jerk. Really. I looked good on paper, but my heart was not in the right place. And the world out here teaches you should look at it, number one. That's the greatest lie you'll ever hear. That's not it. The reason I think we're here is to help other people. It's that simple. When you understand that you're here to help somebody else, life is really good. And when you're self-centered, you become bitter and cynical and just not a nice person. And I was headed down that path, but as I started to realize that we're here to help other people, I realized one of my opportunities to do that would be to help these young people. There was a man that mentored me. His name was J.B. Elliott. If you've ever listened to our show for years, you know who J.B. is. He worked for the National Weather Service in Birmingham for 32 years. He took the time to let me work and watch at the Weather Service, to pull a product off the teletype machine, to rip a map off the die-fax machine. Having people have no idea what that stuff is in here, except for the old ones, all right? But why in the world, if he would do that for me, why would I not do that for somebody else? And so in the 1990s, I decided to open up our doors to college students that love science and were interested and wanted to do this as a career, because there were men and women that encouraged me, why can't I do that? So by helping people like Elise in a very small way, it's very rewarding to me, especially to watch them grow in their career, to watch them grow personally, and mature in this science and in this business, and it's very rewarding. So that little time you spend on stopping to help somebody else can really change your life. And you don't know now, maybe if you don't do that, but it gives you purpose and it gives you just a sense of peace that I think we all need.
Please.
Yes, going into the internship, I didn't know that I would get a mentor out of it. I just wanted to learn from you. Because at the time, as a student, you're told so many things. You're told that you have to present the level in a certain way, and look a certain way, and do this to get the job out of school. And at that NWA meeting, you just opened my eyes to what the job of a broadcaster really is. And that is to try and save lives, give accurate weather information, so you can prevent the loss of life and property. And that, I took that to heart. But then I still needed to learn more. And over the course of that summer, I also realized that I kind of had to earn your mentorship, which I think is also important as a mentee, is that it's your responsibility to show them that they are worth their time and effort to be your mentor, that they can also get something out of it. So for me personally, this has just been a huge boost of confidence, to know that you have confidence in me moving forward with my career. And you've given, of course, advice about mean tweets and trolls, but also how to handle severe weather scenarios. For me, the Jeff City tornado was kind of the culmination of the classes I took at Valparaiso University and why I was your intern, and how I responded and reacted to that was because of the experience and knowledge I was able to gain from you, my education, and etc.
Good. Kate?
So to kind of, piggyback off of what Elise is saying, we get into school and you think that there's this mold that you must fit into for broadcasting. But at the same time, you have no idea who you are as a broadcaster. There's a lot of on-air presence that has to be fostered as you're going through all those steps as well. And Alan not only is, that reassuring voice in times of, tension, whatever it may be, tropical weather, severe weather, but a way to communicate that calmly and clearly in a way that people don't panic, but relaying all of that life-saving information. And I feel a lot of my on-air presence has been from watching Alan and learning from Alan as far as being that clear communicator. And, on days when it's sunny, breaking that down and giving little tidbits here and there that really kind of grab your audience and pull them in and make them care about the weather when they're just sitting there on the couch or cooking dinner or something. So those are the little things that I really started to pick up from Alan, and I feel and I hope that who I am as a broadcaster is in some way, shape, or form similar to how Alan is as a broadcaster as well, in that kind of presentation and the warmth that he brings to that. So that's me personally, how I feel about having Alan as a mentor. And the same thing, I didn't get into those classes at Sal thinking that I'm going to have a mentor out of this. It just kind of happened, because when I thought going through those big career transitions, life transitions, moves across the country, you don't think that you really need somebody outside of your immediate group that can help provide that sounding board. And Alan's been all of those things.
A couple of things I was just thinking. There are 3 seasoned men here, 1 younger man, 3 younger women. The mentor thing, it's simply put, it's a friendship. It's a professional friendship. And like most friendships, I hope, it's organic. It's not like, I want you to mentor me, which can work, but for me, it's a very natural thing. It's something I've always done. I've learned in my wisdom that if you give love, you get love. If you give knowledge, you get knowledge. If you give money, you get broke. And if you give jokes, you get laughed.
Well, one of the things for me, I was looking back 2 years ago, I was a forecaster at a field office. I kind of thought I had my career track figured out. I kind of move up the ranks as a lead forecaster and enter, local office management. And then I took a job at headquarters. And that was a leap. I love what I do at headquarters, but it's caused me to kind of rethink what my future is, and where I want to go from there. Do I want to go back to the field? Do I want to stay at headquarters? Do I want to explore other parts of NOAA? I don't know. And that's one of the things that I think Stephen has been a huge help with, is being able to serve as a mentor, as someone that's been in all those places at one point or another during his career, to give me some perspective and advice, and to also share some leadership experiences with me, some management experiences, some of the things he deals with as a regional director, and some of the things he's dealt with as an MIC in the past, to help me really kind of gain that big picture knowledge, gain some skills in management and leadership, and while I'm not ready to take my next step, at least kind of have a better idea of what I want that direction to be, so that I can begin preparing myself now, whether it's training, job shadows, experiences, whatever, so that I'm in the right place and successful in whatever my future career track takes me.
I think Paul, who started the session, is absolutely correct, and Lisa and I talked about it, is, when we first started, I told her that I'd be learning just as much from her as she would from me. And it's really nice because we have this relationship that we can share things and talk about her horrible supervisor that she had. Just kidding, John. No, we talk about different events, and I do have some headquarters experience that I can help add, and the experience in the past. But I do like to share things with her and kind of like real stories or real time events that are going on. And she's also a Google expert. She helps me with Google too. So. Oh, and by the way, thanks for calling us seasoned. Appreciate that.
And actually, I just wanted to add where I was going with the season is that these young people here are mentors already, and it's not about seeking someone who just looks old and wise. It's about hooking up with someone who has knowledge in an area that you don't have. So your mentor could be younger than you. And we need the younger mentors to help us with social media and things like that. It doesn't take age. It's a relationship. It's organic. It's a great feeling to share. And it's something where even I was talking to a friend of mine who I considered her a mentor. And she's maybe 10 years older than I am. And she said, well, I always look at you like a brother. So it really is, there's stuff here going on, not just here.
Any other comments on that from the team?
I actually have two comments I want to piggyback off of from Alan. Mentorship as a professional friendship, yes, and yes. A lot of people see mentorship as an activity or something to do in a specific situation, whether that's an internship, on-job training, something of that matter. Mentorship really at its core is a process. It is a helping relationship. It's a mindset, but mentorship is about helping others win too, even if that means stopping and taking a break for yourself from time to time. We find in mentorship, Mike and I, where you have those more organic, personable relationships, those tend to be more successful because it is symbiotic. Every one of us in this room, regardless of age or other individual difference, each one of us learns and in turn teaches, even when we're not realizing it. Everything we do is modeled to other people. And so, whether you explicitly or implicitly are aware of this, you're constantly having an effect on other people. And so the people around you are learning from you and teaching you in the course of everything that each of you does every day, every second. So I just wanted to add that.
Be clear.
I want to clarify one thing about weather brains and that incident with Dr. D. Chuck did put down your generation. He was working the cowboy hat, and he sucked me into this thing. And I didn't put down your generation. I said, I don't know if you understand this, because for those of you students that want to do what I do for a living and have done for 41 years, some of you maybe think if you get your teeth whitened and a really nice hairstyle and some really nice clothes and your academics are impeccable and you know the science, you're going to walk into a TV station, work for 8 hours, and make $300,000 a year, and life will be a dream. And my point was that that's not the way it works anymore. But I wanted to clarify this because I'm afraid I don't have time to do this. For every young person in this room, and for some of you I've said this to you, and I've said it to you, I know, but if you're a millennial in here, raise your hand. Close, borderline. Listen, I think you're brilliant. I think you work hard. I really do. And I mean that from some old guys, seasoned, whatever. I think you're brilliant. All these old guys like me, that they start doing what Chuck did. No. Because I've gotten to know people like Elise and watch their work ethic and watch their heart and their passion. I'm telling you, it is so much better than my generation. So I want you to understand, if you're a millennial and if you're in college right now, we believe in you. Those of us my age really do believe in you. And if you want to go into broadcast meteorology, we have some huge challenges here. This business model is dead, but something wonderful will come out of this. Everything changes. Everything, no matter what you do in this enterprise. But I think you will reinvent the wheel, and what you'll be doing in 10, 20, 30 years from now will be better than what we're doing right now. We're still doing Ron Burgundy newscasts from the 1970s. You will reinvent this thing. So I wanted to just be sure that everybody that's young in this room understand, for me, I believe in you and I love your generation.
Love it.
Yep.
So we actually have plenty of time, so I mean, go ahead, add to it.
And just to follow up from that, one thing that has come from this mentorship and mentor-mentee relationship is that James has been a source of validation from me, which as an early career professional, that's hard to come by, and a trusted source of validation too. As someone who is still growing and learning, I want to make sure that I'm getting constructive criticism and compliments from someone who I've built a relationship with and know that you know the industry, know the business, and know what is important about forecasting and in the broadcast world. And I think that's important for whatever sector you are in or want to go into, is that you have that source of someone who will be able to build you up after a hard day or a hard forecast or something like that.
So we're going to open up and there's one more question I'm going to ask the panel, to start thinking of questions you may have for our panel, because we will have time to take your questions. So the final question for the panel, for the mentees, what are some of the challenges you faced connecting with a mentor or throughout the relationship? And for the mentors, just what challenges have you faced being a mentor? So we'll start with that.
All right, so, I've worn both hats, mentee, mentor. I'll answer the former first. As a mentee, I think there's an intimidation factor, especially when you're starting out. And you're uncertain of your place in whatever it is you're doing. Obviously, I have a far more untraditional path into meteorology than most. I'm actually in psychology, graduate student. I studied psychology of weather, but that's a whole long story. But there's an intimidation factor, and I think as a mentee, or as a mentor rather, to transition, you have to be genuine. You have to want to foster that organic relationship that we've been talking about, and modeling behaviors. It's all about modeling behaviors. Attitudes are caught, not taught. You're going to influence, and to cut through some of that intimidation and that uncertainty on the part of the mentee, the mentor. If you're genuine, if you're approachable, you give kind, constructive criticisms, but kind. I think that's important. And then as well, you want to foster an environment in which a student feels motivated. Mike and I believe that self-regulated learning, that's the way to go. You want the student, whether they're pre-college, college, or at another level, whatever the context is, whoever the learner is, you want them to be self-motivated. You want them to guide their own learning. I've got 2 high school weather campers here at this conference. We're talking. They've got 2 talks tomorrow. They're giving a poster in the morning, an oral presentation in the afternoon. I've let them run free. They have the reign of what they want to see. It's not what I want them to see. Maybe yesterday there were 1 or 2 talks I recommended, but for the most part, they've come and gone into what they've wanted to see. And so you let them guide their own learning, and you help guide them along the way. You foster an environment in which they can learn, and then you practice for yourself as a mentor. Unconditional positive regard. You accept the mentee for whomever he or she is in that moment. You accept their current state, their current physical, mental, whatever state it is. You accept them as they are. You give them that space to be themselves, and that allows them the capacity for growth. And that is one of my core beliefs as a mentor, as far as helping different learners goes.
I'm gonna go first this time. Because it's story time again. So throughout the course of my internship, as we were kind of alluding to, I wanted to prove that I was worth the time that it would take for you to guide me and teach me and etc. I wanted to learn from you. So whenever you're in a class, you have the first day, you get the syllabus, and then at the end of the class, you have a final exam. And our final exam was a Walmart walkthrough, the Adamsville Walmart. And so we're driving up, the whole weather team's there, we're driving up in the ABC 3340 like weather Jeep. And we get out of the parking lot, and I had no idea what I was in store for. We get out, and Span starts to walk into the Walmart, and from across the parking lot, you hear, "Hey, it's Span, the weatherman." And of course, that was one of several interactions we would have. And what would happen was he would walk up to someone, shake their hand, say, "Hi, how you doing?" And then point to me and say, "This is my intern, and she's going to tell you what the weather is." And and from there, I didn't know that was going to happen, but I said, "I've been in Birmingham now for 3 months. It's going to be hot, it's going to be humid, there are going to be scattered showers." And he starts to point and laugh at me and make fun of my response. And the couple we were talking to, the lady, she maybe felt bad, maybe felt like she could connect with me, but she came up and gave me a hug.
Give me that. So, I've been doing this for a long time. I see a lot of college students like Elise, they're brilliant. Academics are just incredibly good. But to get out of this internship, you have to prove that you can communicate with the people that we serve. We become disconnected. So many of us in the Weather Enterprise have become disconnected. We come to these meetings and they're great. I love these. They're like a family reunion. I'm old as dirt. Some of you are old as dirt. We've known each other for years. I see you once a year at this. But we talk in these meetings and we decide to do the things that are best for us. The things that we think are right. And the truth is, that's not why we're here. We are all servants. Everybody, no matter what part of this enterprise you work in. And if we cannot relate to the people we serve, we got a real problem. How many people in here have been hanging out at a Dollar General or a Walmart? That's what I do. I take the interns to a Walmart in a working class part of the city that represents the best cross-section of people you serve, to see if they can engage in a conversation and communicate weather with them. And these are people that don't look like them, they don't think like them, they don't vote like them. They are radically different. And so many of the younger interns struggle with that. And if you can't be successful in talking to a person in a Walmart about weather, you have no hope in communicating with someone on television, or quite frankly, if you work for the National Weather Service. And let me just say this, everybody in here that works for the National Weather Service in a forecast office, you are a broadcaster. How many people follow your Facebook page and your Twitter accounts? Tens of thousands in every instance. You're a broadcaster too, and the same applies to you. You have to be able to do that. And so that's the reason I do that little experiment as a final exam, to see if you can pass that. In all these years, I've never had anybody hug an intern before. You were the first. So I do, all right, she's going to work. No problem, you get an A. But I want to say it's an encouragement to everybody in here, including all of us that are older. We have to remember that we are not here to serve ourselves. We're here to serve these people that are in Dollar Generals and Targets and Walmarts. And I encourage you to go in these places and talk with them and listen to them. They will tell you things that we need to know. And to see a young person interact with them in that Walmart in such a great way was just a wonderful thing for me. And I'll be honest with you, I learned from them because they have communication technique skills that I don't have. So it's a two-way street. She learns, I learn.
And just to kind of wrap that up, after the internship, I made sure that every couple of months I was sending a check-in email. Just, this is my progress, I finished these classes, and then of course recently it's been, I applied to this job and I didn't get it. Or I just went through this storm, do you have any tips or advice? So even, especially for an internship example, it's important to keep following up with someone who you have learned from and also want to continue to learn from. And there are some people out there who say you want to learn from them. Maybe they're just not at a point in their career where they're able to do that. And that's okay, because you can go back to them at another time and try to seek out the mentorship, so.
So, earlier in the discussion about what challenges do you have as a mentee, I think,
Yeah.
well, that's one challenge, right? I've never dealt with that ever, right? So one of the challenges is, that slight intimidation factor. And it's not so much an intimidation of
I wasn't intimidated by you.
it wasn't an intimidation of presence. I mean, Alan is a very warm, welcoming person, but it was an intimidation of this man's time is very valuable, and I don't want to take up too much of it. And is it okay to reach out? Is it okay to ask these questions? I know how busy he is. And not once has Alan ever said that he's too busy to answer whatever question I've got, whatever concern that I've got. And then to follow up on the mentor side of things, because now that, I've been doing this for a while, hopefully with still some of the same guidance, that I've had instilled in me. But people still ask you it, and you'll have, employees ask you questions about their next transition, their next career move, what should I do? And I always second guess, am I giving the right advice? Is this the right answer? And you can only do, the best that you can in that sense, but I think that's a real challenge as well, that your answer is the best for you, is it the best for somebody else as well?
I would add as a mentor, which again, I don't see it as a formal, this is your title, you have to pay taxes at the end of the year. It's a friendship, and for any friend, you can call me in the middle of the night, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to help you. I'm never going to say, I don't have time for you. But for James and I, and broadcasters who are very high visibility in years, we do have a lot of people coming at us. And it's not to say we don't want you to do that, but we want you to consider and remember the other 559 people in this room who are all just as professional and seasoned and knowledgeable and available to help you. My first NWA conference, Cocoa Beach, back in the 90s, I was blown away by the fact that as we were flying into the airport through the Cumulus Towers, which are awesome, the man sitting next to me was the man who wrote my intro meteorology textbook. And years ago, I met Chuck Doswell. I was like, wow, sitting here next to Chuck, having a normal conversation. And all of us in this room are as normal can be for a meteorologist. But it is to say that we're all willing and available to talk to younger people and share knowledge and let it grow. Don't just say, I want this person to be my mentor. It's almost like, well, will you be my friend? Which sometimes works, but it's better if it's organic. I had one more point to make, but I forgot what it is, but I'll get back to it.
Echoing a lot of what Kate and Louise have already said, for me, one of the biggest challenges when we started was that time part. Knowing Stephen's very busy, managing and overseeing all of the offices in Southern Region, especially during hurricane season or during severe weather season in the spring, it's busy. And I wanted to make sure I know his time is valuable, that I wasn't, imposing. So one of the things we did when we started was really kind of set expectations and identify a time each week that we were going to meet. It's early. For anyone that has worked with me, I don't function well without coffee. But it's worked, and I think it's worked because we get along so well that we can, just chat about anything, and something that maybe a 10-minute conversation, I think, turns into an hour conversation, which is incredible because half the time it's free coffee. And yeah, there's weeks where something comes up for one of us and we can't meet, but it's a recurring event on our calendars for us to meet every single week, and I think that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, it was really difficult setting expectations for me, so it was, I go back to the millennial James you were talking about, the time commitment that she also has. NWA and other organizations, she's quite quite a busy person as well as the job. So a lot of times we're just talking about schedules and some of the classes and things that she's taken. But I think, you know, even though ours is long distance over hangouts, we still, it's worked well. We have known each other, like I said before. And, you know, we make it work. We twist the schedule around. And yes, on those days when she's teleworking, I get to hear the dog and a coffee cup and everything like that. So, but it's been great, and you know, you make the time and you know, make it work, and we always send a catch up on it too.
The other point I wanted to make was your mentor-mentee relationship is pretty structured, what you just said. It doesn't have to be. There are times where Kate and I won't communicate for a year, maybe. Although I do go online and make sure she's doing okay and all that kind of stuff. So it's not, again, it doesn't have to be so structured. It's just a friendship. And my second thought just escaped me.
That's why we're seasoned.
The point was, aside from James and I having multiple people recognize us and come toward us, for any of the people I mentor, which I still don't really call it that, it's no effort. It's just normal human interaction.
I want to make one more point just on the intimidation factor. We've touched on it a few times now. One thing as a mentee, you know, if you're feeling uncertain of yourself and of your position in a relationship, something to think about is that, yes, the mentor is busy. They've got people coming at them, but they are making time for you. They value you. And it was when I kind of realized that, it was, oh hey, you know, I'm sending, you know, 3 and 4 emails a week, but they are responding. You know, they're not telling me to go away. You know, they want to help you. So the fact that they are spending time answering your questions, guiding you along, you know, that's all the indication you need. They think you're worthwhile. And so you also should think you're worthwhile and recognize that you are, you know, just as valuable as they are, and that you're not just wasting their time. But I wanted to add that as a closing point.
Yeah, if I could jump back in for a moment. Ours is a structure that's through the Weather Service, a training center, and I was hesitant at first to sign up. I am so happy that I did. It's the first formal type of mentorship that I've ever done, and it really is a pleasure. And you know, the program has an ending date. I don't even know what Christine is, what the ending date is, but I hope we can continue after that. It's something that, as you said, you're giving, but you receive so much. So if you have an opportunity for something like this, I would suggest that you do it.
Here's a more cool thing for me, and I'll stop talking. As a mentor, and again, I don't like that title. I don't know if I'm a mentor. I have no idea, but watching these young people grow, I can't tell you how rewarding that is. And listen, everybody in here, if you're a professional doing what I do, you are busy. I understand. Everybody, and I'm too busy to fool with these kids. I'm busy, and we're all busy. Trust me, it's different now than it was when I first started doing this intern thing back in the 90s. I get it. She understands. We're busy. I totally understand that. But if you can just take maybe a little time and help a young person launch their career, I can't tell you how awesome it is when you become my age and you see them standing on this stage and sitting on this stage presenting. Notice there's a red tag. What does the red tag say?
Mentor.
That's awesome. So now they're a mentor, but I see a Josh Johnson, a Derek Kincaid, a Jason Simpson, a Lee Smith, and I'm afraid I'll leave somebody out, but all these people that came up on these internships in the summer present and share their wisdom. I can't tell you how rewarding that is. So just be willing to take a little time out of that schedule, put it back in somebody else's life. It's like really good.
Yes, it's been good. We have time for questions, though. Go up to one of the two mics if you have a question for the panel.
While she's heading to the mic, I'll also say as a 30-year NWA member, it's awesome to see my peers do great things and move up and mature and learn about their families and just bring up the whole next generation and see people getting ready to retire. These are good things.
You get these 30-year stickers. I got a red one and I didn't get a gold one like Alan down here one day.
All right, first question, go ahead.
So, as a mentor, how do you go about giving the tougher love, harsh criticism to the people that are your mentees?
Alan?
You just be honest. And just like last night at the student broadcast critiques, you're honest. You're not brutal, but you're honest. And that's the best thing we could all do for anything.
It's about keeping the relationship genuine, so honesty all the way.
And I think trust is part of that too, because throughout my career, the mentors I had, they're people I trust. I trust their feedback, and if it's tough criticism, that's criticism I need to hear to grow.
Let me just say this, I often talk about trolls and haters, and we all deal with this stuff. But let me tell you what, there's a difference between trolling and constructive criticism. I desperately need constructive criticism. I need people to critique me, and if you're young, you need people to critique you. And understand, don't get your feelings hurt if somebody says you're not doing something right on a green wall or a forecast ship. The right way to do it is just with propriety, decency, and respect when you're correcting somebody. And again, I need it just like the interns need it.
Next question? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say as a mentee in the NWS mentorship program, just a big shout out to Christina for getting that program going. When we talked about the structure versus non-structure, I think in the weather service especially, it's important to have that structure up front because we are so far apart. My mentor is Mike Canton, who's the MIC in Boise, and I'm in Raleigh right now. So that can be a challenge with time zones and everything, but I will say that the quicker you get from the structure to the informal, the more the organic stuff comes out. And it's been really amazing to connect with him. And quickly we learned that professionally, all the stuff with going on the job side, I had a fairly good handle on, but it was the stuff on the personal side that I really needed the mentorship for. And that didn't come out until those walls were broken down, whether it's the title of what your job is, or that whole just being intimidated by someone of that position. So it's been a fantastic program, and I think anybody looking either to be a mentee or a mentor should really look into it. It's been fantastic. So, thank you.
Thanks for that comment. That's Ryan, right? Ryan. Okay, thanks for that. Next.
I was just going to make a comment as another seasoned guy here, Jim. I'm sure you've learned this too. I don't know what I want to call it mentor either, but interns, we've all had interns. You get to be our age, and finally you're learning from them. I wasn't going to name names. Ryan Von KIG was one of our interns. Now I'm learning about graphics because he's a super whiz on the WSI computer. So you mentor somebody, next thing you know, you're learning from them later on in life.
Good. Another question? Frank, you gonna ask one? Excellent. Yes. Oh. Yes, Frank.
My question is mainly for the mentors, but certainly I'd like input from the mentees too. I've always been very interested in mentoring. As part of my job, I'm a SUE in the National Weather Service office, so I get to deal a lot with students at universities. I really enjoy that interaction. Maybe it's my internal feel, my concern, and I want to get some feedback from the mentors is, I don't know everything. And I get concerned that, am I really going to be helping mentees if I give them something that's more based on maybe opinion or something I'm not quite so sure about? They're great people, and I want to make sure that I'm leading them down the correct path and not giving them information that will be more detrimental to them. And I'm wondering how you, as mentors, approach that.
I think one way that I handle this, there's self-doubt as a mentor, as you mentioned, is what I'm doing the right thing for the learner? And I think that the best way you can cope with that is really to, acknowledge that you're not going to know everything, and then model that to them. The lesson in those situations is not necessarily the information itself, but the underlying foundation that it's okay not to know everything. And I think within that, what is conveyed is more. Lost my train of thought now. It is more going to speaking to that fear, basically, and showing that you've mastered that, and showing them how to master it. Because regardless of whether or not the information that you're trying to give them ends up being correct or not, we don't know how the future is going to be. Chaos, right? We don't know what's going to work out and what's not going to work out. So the best we can do is the best we can do, and the best advice in the moment is ultimately what we give, what we feel we're giving, and we can course correct from that. But I feel that in those situations, the best lesson and the best message is that uncertainty is okay, and it's about accepting yourself, and just recognizing that it's okay to not know.
Yeah, I think, Frank, I think it builds for a better relationship and a learning experience that you don't know. You never will know everything. And as I said, I bounce things off of Elise all the time. Not only as a generational thing, just going on, but just bouncing something off her. So I think it helps for a stronger relationship and acknowledge you don't know everything and talk it out and learn from them.
And then there's the other simple thing of, I don't know, but I have a friend who...
That was my whole point. That you stole my line. Because they asked me, give me some tips on lake effect snow. Do you have any? No! Every once in a while, we will get some off the Tennessee River, but I refer them to friends in Cleveland and some of the markets where they do have lake effect snow. And a brilliant person told me, and I was your typical young person coming out of school. I was a pinhead and thought I knew everything. And as you get old, you know how much you don't know. You understand that. So I have the freedom now to say, I don't know, but let me refer you to somebody that does know.
Thank you very much. You guys have been great at that.
Chris. So Alan hit on a key point a few minutes ago with trust. And in my early career, I've seen, not only for myself, but several of my colleagues working through AMS and NWA, where there's instances of forced mentorship, where someone who is a little bit more senior comes and says, I'm going to mentor you whether you like it or not. So, in that vein, are there ways that someone can lay them down easy and say, hey, I appreciate you reaching out and trying to mentor me. However, what you're trying to do is not where my path is. Has anyone on the panel ever experienced forced mentorship? And how do you let them know you appreciate what they're trying to do without, I'll call it, torquing them off and burning a bridge?
Elise.
I've dealt with that from someone who thought that I needed their help. And I was honest, but also didn't immediately close the door. I listened to what they had to say, and then also tried to have a good conversation with them about it. I see where you're coming from, but what about this type of thing? So I think that is something that you also just need to be conscious of, that people are going to do that whether you like it or not. But then it's good to have a mentor to go to and be like, this person wants to be my mentor and they're telling me to do this. What's your opinion of that? And then maybe they become a mentor in another niche for you as well. So I wouldn't say don't close the door completely, because you might learn something from them a year, a couple of years, a couple of days down the line.
Good. We'll do Bruce and then Becca, and that's all we have time for. But Bruce.
Thank you so much for what you're telling everyone today, and this mentorship is very important. It's very important even in my career because I interned at 5 different places before I became a professional meteorologist. Interned at TV stations, the National Weather Service, even with an advertising agency, to learn about the business and do what I wanted to do. But I wanted to share a story because the stories you're telling about being organic are so important, Alan, and all the stuff you've been saying. I used to work in Waco, Texas, and I went to buy a car. My car was broken down, and the young lady selling the cars told me her brother was a student at Texas A&M University, about 20 years old, interested in weather. I said, well, have him come by the TV station, I'll talk to him. This is like 1994. I encouraged him to take an internship with the National Weather Service. He was very shy, very timid, and I felt like broadcasting, and he didn't really want to do broadcasting. It wasn't his thing. So I encouraged him to take an internship in Alaska. And he was shy. He didn't want to do it. I said, you know, you're 20 years old. You're not married. You're not encumbered with mortgages. Take this opportunity. He went to Alaska. He liked it. He went back the next summer. He liked it. There was a hiring freeze in the National Weather Service when he graduated, but he was already in the system. So they could hire him, even in the hiring freeze. Now he lives in Anchorage. He's a lead forecaster. He met a woman, had 5 children. 25 years later, he was at the training center for IBSS training last week, and he brought me a salmon from Alaska. So, bring gifts. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the and then our last one, Becca, chair of the program development committee.
Yeah. I have a comment and another question. So we've all heard some amazing stories from our panel and some of our question people here. And so I just wanted to bring up again, and Paul mentioned earlier that the Professional Development Committee, we teamed up with the Social Media Committee to allow you all in the audience as well to share your stories with the National Weather Association. So we have created a Google form, and if you go on either Twitter, we've shared it, and as well under the feed portion of the app, if you go in there and just fill out the form and let us know your stories and pay it forward, or mentorship, or if you have some other advice to share with the membership. So much can be learned from each of us in the organization and will allow us to grow as a community. So please go ahead and do that. I think it'll be really neat. We'll share it on Twitter. We'll put it together in a nice image and then share it on Twitter, and so the rest of the membership will be able to hear your stories and benefit from your experiences. So please go ahead and do that. So then a question that I do have for the mentees. You might have talked about this a bunch already, but as a mentee myself, I find it very hard at times to be vulnerable to that information that's given to you by your mentor and the constructive criticism and whatnot. So can you please a little bit elaborate how you sort of get over that fear in a way and allow yourself to be vulnerable for that sort of constructive criticism?
I feel like you have to have that hunger, the want to get better, the want to succeed, and that kind of helps break down the walls a little bit. I mean, none of us want to hear that we're doing a bad job or that we're not doing the right things, but to want to do that is the first step. And as long as you're able to acknowledge that that's the path that you want to be on, whatever the risks may be, and maybe that risk is just hearing that negative feedback, that's the first step in all of that. And being able to glean through, I think James mentioned earlier, about picking the difference and recognizing the difference between trolls and constructive criticism. That's a hard tool to learn. I mean, I'm 7 years in, and it's still different to kind of separate those two things, but that helps a lot as well.
And also having a diverse field of mentors too. So if you're starting maybe a new mentor, professional friendship, and they say something that you question, if that is actually good advice or bad advice, it's good to have another mentor to ask. Okay, I was told this. Should I try this? Is this good advice or not? Yeah.
And it goes back to the trust. The person that you trust the most with that advice for you.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to the relationship building as well. I can be a lot more vulnerable and accept advice and constructive criticism from someone that I have that trust and that working relationship with, because I know they want me to succeed. They are looking at helping me better myself. So it also helps to come from that trusted source.
So we've got to wrap it up, but let's thank our panelists. They were awesome. So it is break time. The exhibitors are open. We come back here by 10:15. Thanks, everyone.